What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Rainy season is almost done, I think. We had a good old storm last night though. Man, it rained hard and it rained heavy. Look at the little lake out here in the backyard. Of course, we got some cows chilling in the fields. All that's to be expected. Yeah, it looks like rainy season normally only lasts until the end of October. So should be pretty much done. So we should come into that nice cooler season, I guess you can say. Usually November and December are a little bit cooler than normal, and then we'll get right back into the stifling heat. It's all good for me though. I'd rather have the heat than the cold. Never liked the cold. Even though I grew up in Michigan where it's always cold, I never liked it. I'm too old for the cold. My bones are brittle, man. They freeze. But anyway, as always, before I start, I want to say thank you to all my awesome supporters. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys, and thank you all the new the new supporters that gave me your email address. It used to be pretty easy. Hello. You know, people send me a donation, I add them to my list, and it was no problem. But that new PayPal thing had me all flummoxed for a while, where they don't show you the email address of the people that sent you donations, so you have to get it a different way. Of course, I have an email address down below in the description. If you haven't donated before, send me your email address through that email so I can add you to the list. And what will you get if you donate? Well, you'll receive my weekly exclusive videos and other content at least once a week. I'll try to get out and make a video exclusive for my supporters. This might be something a lot of times I don't talk about in my public videos, and I always look for ideas from them of what they want to hear. Different policies, different things happening in Cambodia. And of course, they often get the first of the information as it becomes available on the new policies. Especially now, we're right in the middle of the country opening back up, allowing the tourists in, and there's a lot of information coming about. And I'll always be sure to get that to my supporters first. Each one is appreciated. And if you want to donate and be part of that, there's links down below to my PayPal, buymeacoffee.com/DDC, or you can join my Patreon. And if you do any of those things, of course, you'll be added to that list. And if it's your first time donating, I'll send you copies of my books as a way of saying thank you, including Living Cambodia, a guide for living in the Kingdom of Wonder. And while you're waiting to come here to Cambodia, there's a lot of things, some things you might want to think about, take care of before you come over here. And let me give you some tips from me to you that I think might not apply to everybody, but will make your transition hopefully a little easier. Number one, your documents. you're going to need a lot more documents than you used to. And with those documents, you're going to need copies of your passport photos. So if you're going to get your passport and passport photos for the first time, be sure to pick up a few extras in your country. You'll need one on the flights, on the plane, for entry cards. So you might need 2 or 3 of them there, depending on which country you're flying into for the layover and whatnot. And there's a lot of things here in Cambodia you'll need passport photos to be able to accomplish. Now, passport photos over here are cheap compared to where I come from. The United States is kind of expensive, but over here they're pretty reasonable. So just buy a few extra for your trip here, and then the ones you need when you get here, you can just go to a photo shop and have those done on the cheap. But the rest of your documents, be sure you carry the originals with you. If they're in color, be sure you got the originals in color. You're going to need those. They're going to want to look at that. Make sure the copies aren't forgeries or anything. So they do want to see the originals. Carry the originals with you. Take care of the originals. Keep them in a place where you can access them, but they're safe. And be sure to grab a bunch of copies of all the originals also. Because if you come to the airport and they want to keep a copy of your vaccination record, they want to keep a copy of your insurance information, you can't give them the original. And they might have copiers where you can go make a copy, but you can save yourself some time if you just have them already made. Just hand them to the people who are guarding the things if they ask for one. So copies of your passport photos, copies of all your important documents. And if you're coming here to teach, that would include your TEFL certificate. You'll need that along with your TEFL training transcripts. And you can make copies once you get here. So bring copies of everything. And if you don't need them, hey, you're not out a bunch of money. And you might need them in the future anyway. So, you'll always have them. Number 2, man, hey, if you're coming over here long term, like to retire or teach English, you're going to be over here for a while, not just as a tourist. It is a really good idea before you leave, to go to your bank directly, whichever branch of the bank you use in your town. Let them know you are moving to Cambodia and that you will be using your debit, credit, or MasterCard, you know, whatever it is you have. You'll be using that here. The reason for that is, especially if you've never been here before, you don't want to use it. You don't want to be using your debit card for the first time and then have the bank go, this looks suspicious to me, because in the 10 years they banked with us, they have never ever purchased anything in Cambodia. And then they could lock out your bank account thinking it's fraud, which is their job to do, but it could also result in a lot of hassles trying to get that reinstated from way over here instead of taking care of it first back home. I've heard stories of expats who that kind of thing has happened to. More stories than I care to think about. And before I left, I went in and made sure I took care of that. I went in person. I told them my exact arrival date and told them from this day forward I was only going to be using my card in Cambodia. And they made a note of that on their little computer system there on my account, and I never had an issue. Now, I know some people don't have an issue anyway. They don't think about that. They come over here, use their card just fine. It's all going to depend on your bank and their policy concerning that kind of thing. But I do think it's a good precaution to take, because like I said, once you get over here, trying to deal with banks back home is going to be way more trouble than what it's worth. And this is only going to take you like 5 minutes. It won't cost you a dime. So be sure to secure your account. Let them know that this is going to be happening. Number 3, if you have a credit card, you can use it at certain places over here, but generally they're going to be the more expensive places. Cash is still king in Cambodia, so I want to give you that little piece of advice to keep that in mind. You're not going to go to any of the local markets like Salu, Sasamaki, buy a bunch of groceries and expect them to accept your plastic. They're going to want cash on hand. Tuk-tuks, pass apps, they're going to expect cash on hand. They're not going to accept a MasterCard. But there are places here that will. Like I said, these are the bigger supermarkets with the Western products, the more expensive supplies. And they have no problem at all taking a Visa or a MasterCard, whatever you have. When it comes time to move, I know I've said this many times, but I always get new subscribers, so I want to let them know that finding a place to live is going to be one of the easiest things you can do, especially right now. So don't put a lot of thought into that. I mean, technically, if you didn't put any thought into it and you just showed up, have no place booked, no hotel, no guest house, no place to live, you get in the morning, by the end of the day you could find a place, at least here in Siem Reap. As long as you got the cash, you'll be able to move in. Of course, you don't want to just take the first place, so it would be good to do a little research. Find out about the different areas in town. Do you want to live more in the city? Do you want to live more in the countryside? Do you want it more urban or rural? And then focus on that area once you get here. I stayed at a guest house for 2 weeks when I first arrived, and that gave me time to look at several apartments in different price ranges when I first got here, before I chose my first one, which I stayed in for a little over 2 years. So I didn't want to take just the very first one, but maybe the price is right. But then I found out the first night that it's very loud, very noisy, a lot of dogs, a lot of people partying, or live around a, real close to a temple or a school. You got a lot of noise, a lot of things going on there all the time. But finding a place is really easy. That seems to be one of the things people are always concerned about. They email me or message me, and they always say, hey, what's the best way to go find an apartment? And I usually tell them the same as the best way to find a teaching job. You know, feet on the pavement, man. Get out, walk, take a tuk-tuk. I can guarantee I can ask anybody on that sidewalk right there that you're looking at, or any of these people over here that are doing the construction. If I told them I'm brand new in town, I need a place to live, everybody would know somebody who has an apartment, has a place to stay. The amenities you want will be up to you. And the more you want, the higher the price will go. But overall, there are more important things to concern yourself with, especially under the stress of moving to a new country, than finding an apartment, at least here in Cambodia. Just super easy. No worries there. Your transportation is probably going to be a tuk-tuk when you first get into town. This is where you're going to start honing your negotiation skills. A lot of things here require negotiation. Even the price of your apartment is not set in stone, come to think of it. So, think about that for a second. You can actually get 10-20 bucks off maybe the price of your apartment if you're nice about it and negotiate. But tuk-tuks are one of the things you constantly have to negotiate with, so keep that in mind. It shouldn't cost any more than $5 to get from one side of town all the way, like way out one side of town, all the way to the other side of town. So for a ride that's going to take you maybe a kilometer and a half or 2 kilometers, they try to tell you $5 or $6. Yeah, don't believe that. That's a $2 ride all day, every day. And if you take a pass app, it's probably only $1.25 to $1.50. But that's something, you know, you can't really determine until you get here and you start getting the feel for how much other people are paying, or how much you should be paying, I guess I should say. When you first get out of the airport, you're just going to have a bunch of people in your face wanting you to take their tuk-tuk. And don't be afraid if some guy gives you a high price to walk away. Talk to the next guy and the next guy. Eventually you're going to find someone who says, no, I'll do it for $3, even though all those guys are saying $7, $8. You know, it's just takes some patience and some negotiating. Not even skilled negotiating, just like general. If they know you're willing to wait there until you can find the right price, somebody will do it for that price, basically. And also what you bring here, bring clothes, of course. You want to bring some clothes, summer clothes for the heat. If you're teaching, you want to bring a couple dress shirts, dress pants. If you have room, a good pair of dress shoes, socks, you know. But for regular socks, underwear, t-shirts, shorts, if you're not a very, very large person, you'll be able to find all those things here very inexpensively. So there's no sense packing your entire suitcase full to the limit with nothing but clothes because you think, I'm never going to find anything to fit me. That's generally not true. You find something. Lots of places around here that sell clothes, and they're all pretty reasonably priced. I mean, everything I wear now has all come from here. I started out wearing all the things I brought from back home, then I started losing weight and realized that all my cotton t-shirts were way too hot and stifling to be walking around in, so I I started buying here. All my clothes that I brought with me are either I gave away because they were too big, or they're still been in my suitcase for a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And I wear nothing now but the clothes that I bought here. Alright, well, this was a long old video. But anyway, be sure to check out all my links down below. I have links to my PayPal, buymeacoffee.com/DVC, and of course my Patreon. Like I said, by donating there, you'll get copies of my books if it's your first time, and you'll receive all my exclusive content. Whatever I put out for my supporters, you'll be included in that list. So join the family. Other vloggers in Cambodia, those channels are also all listed down below. So be sure to check all those out. And check out all my social media and all my other links down there. I got some good stuff. Alright. Gonna get out of this dust storm. Whew, this is gonna look nice when it's done, but man, it's a pain while it's going on, right? Anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.